we are going to, I think we're now live over on YouTube. So we're going to talk about Canva. And um, let's make sure that we are sharing our screen here. Okay. Okay. So again, you want to keep this in front of you in terms of what the limits are if you're going to be using a free account, mainly because these things change. And I would suggest that whenever you're watching this, that you would go over to look at the limits if you're using the free plan and make sure you understand what the limits are. Now, you have a lot more latitude with this if you're going to have a paid plan, but there are still limits. But there's more than enough for anyone that's going to be using Canva on a regular basis. So you never really have to worry about the limits if you have the paid account. So let's first take a look at the interface. And I'm going to go into the Canva AI interface. So we're on the home page. We're just going to go over to the Canva AI interface. And that's going to bring you to basically what is another home page. It's another set of tools. It's another way of being able to look at what it is that you're going to be doing. If you scroll down on the screen, you're going to see different elements and different cards. You can see this one does this card says design, this card says image, this card says write, this one says code. Those are all AI cards. So they're all based on you're using the AI. And depending on how you are going to be using it, these are going to give you ideas. So what Canva is doing is it's going to walk through an entire process in Canva with this example so you can be able to tell how to do your own example. And so, for example, we talked about, can we use the coding? And we see here that you've got this card that says, we want to build an interactive calculator that I can share with my clients. So if you click on that card, what you're going to see then is that Canva's going to open up into its AI. And what you'll also notice is that the interface is much like ChatGPT, is much like Google Gemini. So you're actually interacting with an AI engine. So it's a different way of interacting with Canva. Now, this coding process is probably going to take some time. Um, you'll notice then that what Canva does, it's going to iterate with you. So it's going to ask you to answer some questions in order to customize what it is that you're doing. And so we're going to go ahead and going to iterate with Canva. So for question one, we're going to answer the question and we're going to write in our name. It's going to ask another question here. What services or products should you include in your calculator? And we'll say custom video tutorial creation, right? And then it's going to ask us what visual style do we prefer? And we're going to say minimalist. Now it's actually already finished. So um, and I'm going to add that other line in there as soon as it completes. So it's now going to go and it's going to attempt to code. Now, the idea behind using this coding area is that you don't have to code. And clearly, if you're a coder or you know coding, it's going to help you, but you're not supposed to have to be a coder in order to do this. And that's really what Canva code is designed to do. Some of these things you probably would not attempt if you were not a coder. Certainly, an interactive dashboard is not something that you'd probably be doing, but it's something that you can do here in Canva code. And so what I'm going to do is as soon as this completes this update, I'm going to answer its last question. And maybe it's already creating a minimalist design anyway, but that's what we want, right? So it asks us a question. We're going to go ahead and answer its query, and then we're going to process it after that fact, right? So again, so this is the coding element. You have a limited number of these, but they do refresh after 23 hours, which is good. So if you have the free version, this is what it will do, right? So that's version 2. I'm going to go ahead and update and see if it will do this again. So yeah, so I'm gonna answer its question. Now, obviously, it's gonna have to go through the same process again, and it's going to redo this. So what you're basically doing is now you don't if you don't know coding, you might not be able to tell very easily if a mistake is being made. You might not necessarily know if you've got a problem that will be code related. I, excuse me, I think what is really designed to do is to give someone who knows nothing about coding the opportunity to put something together like this. And let's see, it's going to get to the end of the process. We ask for minimalist design. We're not going to add any more instructions. We're not going to prolong it. Now, again, we took this idea from the Canva AI homepage. And so it's basically to show you how it works. And that's why Canva puts those ideas there. They put those idea cards there so that you'll be able to see how it works. Okay, so you've got what is a interactive calculator, right? And so that's not to say that all you can do is to put together an interactive calculator, but it's an idea of what it is that you can do. So now the default button that they have here is use in a design, right? So let's click on use in a design. Now I can do a few things, right? I can put this into a presentation in Canva. I can put it into a website in Canva, or I can put it into a doc. You've probably seen these in presentations and documents. So I think the most interesting thing would be for us to put this in a website. So let's put this in a website. Now, I'm not going to, this is not a full-blown session on creating a website in Canva. So I'm not going to go into great detail about putting this in a website. Let's preview the site, right? So we see what it's like. And then someone can pretty much right, link in the video. And we'll see how much that will cost. Set the add on a script. So let's go ahead and publish this to the website. We ask for the size and to add an adaptation in it. So here is the website URL. We can dictate publishing settings. Again, for the sake of this video, we're just going to use the default settings. And so Canva has now published the site. So I'm going to go on to the website. A little challenge term. See if I can close up uh, some assets here. Okay. Okay, so this is actually on the web now. So you see it's got a web address. Um, Obviously, what you could do is you can put this in your own domain, but you'll get a chance to see how it works. Right? Customer comes, they say they want premium quality, they want script, they want custom graphics. And so this puts together the quote for them. And so you might not necessarily want to do all this in Canva. You may want to do more customization, but it's something that you can do. And that's really what the coding element is for. It is for people who would probably not attempt to do this and would probably pay to have this done, but you can do this as a Canva coding project. All right, so let's close out of this. All right, I'm going to go back here. And so you can choose any one of these coding projects and you can test it. Now, again, what you want to do is, when you come up with your own idea, you want to make sure you've got enough room or in your account in order to do that. If I close out of code for me, that brings me back to the general Canva interface. So Canva interacts with you just as it would any other chatbot. So it's basically taken the interface and the experience and it's turned it into a chatbot experience for people who are used to iterating with a chatbot. We can, let's say, draft a document. So let's click draft a document. And we've got some examples here, but let's do this. We're going to describe our idea. Say we want to write a sales page for the video tutorials masterclass, teaching how to create effective tutorials. Right? And see, so we can choose a type. And in this particular case, let's see, the type is going to be, type is best going to be a pitch. So we're going to call this a pitch. And we're going to click submit. And again, now Canva doing this um, in a chatbot format. So if you're used to interacting with Canva in this way, then, or if you're used to interacting with Canva the old way, this is a new way that Canva is going to be interacting with you with the AI. So let's go ahead and take a look at this sales letter. All right. So let's say that what we want to do, let's just take all of and what we want to do now is we want to combine this, right? So let's take all of this copy and let's do this. Let's see if we can do this. Let's go back to the AI and let's code. And let's see, we can't add media here. Let's say create a sales page, design a sales page for this content. All right, and let's see if we can do it. And let's see if Canva can do. So we're going to take all of this content, and so we're going to ask Canva now to design a sales page for the content we just created. Now, obviously, you would be doing more editing with this process. You wouldn't, I mean, you wouldn't just take this as is. But again, what we're doing is we're asking Canva to go through this process with us, right? So we'll see what it is able to do. And you can obviously do this inside of any AI. I mean, you could take this same content and you could go to ChatGPT and you could ask it to put together a sales page, right, based on the content. Now, it's not going to be able to incorporate the images and the visuals in the way that Canva is going to do for you, right? But it can do this, right? So we're going to give this an opportunity to complete. Now, again, all we did, we just took the content that we generated from the document that Canva just did, and we're just going to see what it's going to do in terms of creating a sales page. It's coding for us now. Okay, it's now in the modules section. So it's still got a ways to go. We're not going to close out of this. We're going to go ahead and let this process complete. Now, I don't know if it's going to be intelligent enough to sift through what was a document and turn that document into a sales page, or whether or not it's going to just take word for word what we have here, because some things are going to be inappropriate to have on a website. Okay, so it came back to us. It said, sorry, this didn't quite work. Hang tight for a few minutes and try resending your message, although it's continuing to code. So I'm not sure what that message means. It's still trying, right? It's still kind of going. Maybe it's thinking because it took so long that it will not do it. Now, again, we're pushing the limits on this here. It may not necessarily be designed to work this way, but let's see, it's going to complete the summary section. It's got a footer. Okay, well, we do have a website, right? So let's take a look at it. So let's use this in the design, and let's use this in the website. So even that message that it's not necessarily doing it for us. Well, we do have something, right? And we could preview it, right? What does our preview tell us? So, it's terrible. Basically, to all that option. We had option. Let the publisher publish the design. And this keep inside. So let's see if we actually can get a website here. Okay. Yeah. Um, just put in a website for us. And no, it's not. It's perfect. It would not. You want to make sure it's customized. But if you're not a coder and you don't know how to create websites, then this is something that Canva can do for you. And it probably took us 5 or 10 minutes to do this. And so the coding feature, even though it sounds intimidating, it's probably the most dramatically uh, uh, dramatic, I say, update that they've done in terms of capability that it gives you, right? So, we'd obviously make sure that these buttons are going to be, going to some place where they're going to, initiate some sales process. Got our modules here. Who's a Masterclass for? And then, your customer is going to be able to click there and click enroll now. So again, so what we've done is we took this copy that was produced, we copied that into the website or into the coding area. And really, what I'd like to try to find out is if we could have taken one step to do that. We copied and pasted ourselves, but perhaps, and one of the ways that you want to use uh, the the um, the tools here is we want to use them and we want to ask Canva if that's something we can do. So let's ask Canva. So we're gonna ask if we can use what we did in Magic Write and move it to the coding element in one step. And we'll see what. Okay, so it basically is intelligent enough to tell us that we can't do it in one step, right? So it will say, it says, are you looking for a specific way to integrate the text into the code element? We'll say the Canva AI code element, yes. Okay, so if you take all of the copy that Canva gives you, you can then take that same copy and you can copy it over into the chat window. And the chat window is fairly large. So we can take all this content and Canva took it and it attempted to create a website with it, right? A sales page. So that is something that we can do with the Canva AI. So let's close out of this element. And let's go back to the home. Let's go back to Canva AI. And again, you want to find out the range of things you can do from these pages, right? This is what will tell you kind of your range of things that you can attempt to ask Canva to do for you. And finally, we're going to close out on design for me, right? And what you're going to notice here is that we can design different elements. And you can see you can do social media, do a presentation, do marketing, cards and invitation. You can do a logo. And the logo is going to be easy. It'll be not taxing on our bandwidth. So we're going to go ahead and do a logo. And we're going to describe our idea. And we're going to describe a product line. So we're going to give it some detail and we're going to ask it to create either one or some logos. And let's see what it will come up with. Now, again, you'll notice here that we're going to be interacting inside of a chat window. Right? So again, the whole interaction with Canva is going to be different. And so you'll see here that it's got some different elements, right? So if you want to design a logo for a specific product, you can do it. Now, you'll notice here that we can correct it, right? We can change some of the colors. We can ask for more designs. We can ask for pictures. We can then use this inside of the Canva editor if we want to add it. I think that, well, this is a little, I don't necessarily like that, but I probably would not let that go. Let's see if this is better. Okay, there are no misspellings in this one. So this one would be easier to use. So let's put this in the editor. And if I click on top of the image, right? And if I go into the edit screen, one of the things that you're going to see here is that there is what's called a magic selector, right? We can select different parts of the tool, and that'll get us to being able to use some of the AI elements. Now, again, these AI elements are only available with the paid version. Yeah, we can make adjustments, right? But we can't necessarily use the AI tools that are available as part of the free program, right? Grab text, which is what we would use to correct some of the language, but you know, we did choose one that didn't require um, a correction. Background remover, background generator. If we wanted to erase, let's say we wanted to erase these two elements out of here, we could. But again, we need the paid program in order to do that. Okay, so let's go back to the home page. Let's go back to Canva AI. Going to close out of the help screen. We looked at the design element, draft document element, and the coding element. We're now going to click create an image, right? And so let's create one image about the product that we are creating. So we're going to, let's say we're going to draw an image. Okay, so we'll give it a nice long prompt. Let's see, we want our style. Let's say that for this image, I like it to be photorealistic, really. So let's say what we want. Don't want it to be creative. Uh, let's say we want a stock video, right? And then we're going to determine the size. And let's say what we want the size to be is this. And we're going to allow ChatGPT, or we're going to allow Canva to create, right? We've got our credit counter here. Right now, depending on, who you think your customer would be, then we probably could have specified who we wanted to be in this, right? Typically, as an example, I will say that we're looking for a 50-year-old man, but we can put in here whoever you want. I mean, you could be more specific about who you think your customer is, and then you can then edit this image, right? Then, you can edit in the same way that you would ChatGPT. We can create some elements. We can upscale this to make it a little more for better resolution, but that does take the paid version. Okay, so that pretty much is going to be how you're going to use the main elements of the Canva AI. There is one more thing that you may have noticed on the homepage. I'm going to go back here, and that you can uh, 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 a Canva sheet. Now, the reason that you do this, obviously, is to create a look, right? You can see that you've got templates here. So what you're going to do, obviously, is, I mean, you're not going to type in the information into Canva. You're going to upload a document, right? And what you're going to upload would be your CSV file. So you're going to take your Excel CSV file, and you're going to upload it to Canva, and then you're going to create a look for the information. And so this is really a way of being able to take your information or take the spreadsheet itself and to really create a document that is reflective of your brand. Right? I think it's kind of an interesting way of adding in value to what it is that you're doing and being able to tie things to your brand. So those are the basic features of the Canva AI platform. And hopefully that, it's like everything else. I mean, if you get in and you play around with the interface, it's going to teach you everything that you're going to need to learn and what it is that you need to know. Okay, so with that, thank you very much, everybody, for hanging out with me here. Have a great night and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.